Welcome to Powerful or Pointless. Now, just before we get started with the review, I'm just going to make a quick announcement about Powerful or Pointless. Now, you've probably known if you've been following the channel that I've been doing iOS reviews this whole time, but after I reviewed the HTC One S, I actually really liked it and I found out I could get a really good deal on a HTC One X. So I actually traded in my iPhone for this HTC, and from now on, the reviews on Powerful or Pointless are going to be Android reviews. Now, if you want to know the specific differences and the problems and benefits I'm finding between Android and iOS, stick around to the end of the review and I'll give you a good verdict about what I'm liking about Android compared to iOS and what I'm not liking so much. So there it is, that's the announcement. We are now moving to Android reviews rather than iOS reviews. So here it is, the one you've all been waiting for, the HTC One X. Now, if you saw my review of the HTC One S, you'll know that I really liked that. So I'll just point out the differences between that phone and this phone as we watch the quadrant test go on in the background. So the biggest difference is the screen. As you can see, this one has a much bigger screen. It's a 720 by 1280 pixel screen, and the screen is my favorite part of the phone by far. It's an amazing screen and HD videos look great on it. So another big deal is the quad-core processor. The HTC One S only comes with a dual core. This one comes with a quad core, and it actually comes with a quad core plus a basic little core as well to deal with the basic tasks to try and preserve battery, which is pretty cool. And you can see here on the quadrant test it scores over 4,700, which is a good score or a great score. Another couple of differences. One of the main reasons I went for this was that this comes with 32 gig of internal storage and the One S comes with 16 gig of internal storage with no external storage available, so it's a pretty big deal. And on both of them, I forgot to mention in the One S review that on both of them you get 25 gigabytes for 2 years on Dropbox for free, which is pretty cool. 25 gig is quite a lot on Dropbox, and you get that for 2 years when you buy this phone. So I'll just show you HTC's interface here. I'm really enjoying it when it works, but as you'll see later, it does have its issues. So these widgets, you can have up to 7 home screens. You can put all sorts of widgets on them. I'm really enjoying the notes widgets and the calendar widgets, so you can see what's coming up or what notes you're trying to remind yourself of, and you can just see that straight away. You don't have to actually go into any apps, and that's a cool feature that I didn't get on the iPhone, so I'm really enjoying that so far. You saw that on the menu as well when I'm transitioning between these parts of the menu. There's a little animation, and that actually didn't happen on the One S, but that's no big deal. So the camera, like on the One S, it has a lot of cool features. It's an 8 megapixel camera, and you can take burst shots by holding the capture button, and you can actually take photos while you're recording videos, which is cool. So let's take a look at the browser now, and this is where I encountered all my problems. This is actually review footage. I wasn't trying to get problems. This just happened while I was recording. And you'll see some flickering in the screen in a second. There you go. A lot of people have been reporting that, but that doesn't bother me, a bit of flickering. It doesn't actually slow me down or decrease my productivity. But what does is how laggy and choppy the browser is. As you can see, when you're zooming in and out, the screen disappears and moves around and stuff like that. And obviously, again, it's not the end of the world, but for a quad-core processor, I expected a lot better. I thought it would be a lot quicker, a lot more smooth on this phone. And I actually tested out the same websites on the iPhone 4S before trading in for this, and none of those sites had any problems with pinch to zoom, zooming in and out. It was buttery smooth, and it's just not the case here. I know some people have pointed out that the browser experience isn't good on this, and people have been getting really angry about it, but I just want to mention this is my phone, and this is just what I'm seeing, so I'm not trying to say that this is a bad phone. I'm just saying the browser experience isn't good enough. And as you'll see in a second when I exit this, it's going to crash. This is pre-recorded footage, by the way. So this HTC Sense, I'm enjoying it so far, but it does crash a lot. I've had it crash probably about 30 times in the 2 days I've had the phone. So that's obviously not good enough. I've tried different various settings and everything to try and get it to work, but it still crashes every now and again, although not so much. Not so much anymore compared to when I first started. So it takes about 10 seconds for Sense to boot up again. It's not the biggest deal, but it's just not good enough really for their flagship phone. They should have, refined it a little bit better. And hopefully they come up with some reviews in the future and try and sort it all out. So overall, I'm really enjoying the experience. The bad parts are just niggles and glitches that just aren't working out so well. But the good parts are the big screen, customizability of the widgets and everything. You can make it look pretty cool. Basically the Opera browser I'm really enjoying, although it's not as good as Safari. The fact that you can get so many different browsers on this is decent, so hopefully I'll find a browser that works as well as Safari one of these days. Now I'm using Chrome here in the background, and you'll see that this ends up crashing as well. So although it's better than the stock browser, there were still issues with it. Some pages I tried to test out didn't show up at all. So it's in beta, I can't be too harsh on it, but it's not good enough yet. And the Opera browser is what I'm using at the moment, and that's best so far. So should you get this phone? Well, if you're an Android type of person and you're used to all the little issues you can get with Android, then I do definitely recommend the phone. The amazing screen, the quad-core processor, it's just the screen and the design of the phone really do it for me. The sound quality is great, the camera features are great. But if you're coming from an iPhone, then stick around for the end of the video and I'll go through all the issues I had with this compared to having an iPhone. And some things might be a bit controversial, but I'm just being honest, so stick around for that. If I forgot to mention anything in this review, then I do have this phone now, so I can always re-record something. So if there's something you want to see more of on the HTC One X, just let me know. If you want to see more browsing, if you want to see more camera action, just any part of the phone you want to know more about, just let me know and I can record another video at any time. So I hope you guys enjoyed that part of the review, and now is when it gets controversial. I'm going to quickly go through the stuff I don't like so much about this when compared to the iPhone, and the stuff I am liking about this HTC compared to the iPhone. Now, some things might be specific to the phone, some things might be specific to HTC Sense, and some might be Android altogether. So before we get started with the negatives, I'm just going to let you know that this is actually my phone now. So I'm not trying to be political and say the iPhone's better, the Android's better. I'm just telling you what I'm actually seeing when using this compared to when I was using the iPhone. So the first problem is how slow it is, or how it seems to be slow. Probably because everything's lagging and jerking, it seems slower than it actually is, but it's still not good enough. The iPhone's much less powerful, everything's much smoother. I don't know if it's actually quicker, but everything seems quicker, which is what's important, because the jerkiness and everything messing up and crashing all the time is kind of annoying. And the main problem is really in the web browsers. So I assume people who buy smartphones like this care about web browsing. Why else would you need a nice big screen and a good browser? You want to be browsing the web a lot, and the stock browser that comes on this is horrendous. I don't know where it went wrong there. But when you're zooming in, pinching in and out, you know, trying to read text that's too small to read anyway, you zoom in, and what it does is it resizes everything, moves around, and then it shoots off to a different part of the page, so it's just confusing and annoying. And then when you zoom back out, most of the page disappears, and then it shoots off to another part of the page again. So the stock browser, awful on this. Now, everybody was saying to try Chrome, so I tried Chrome, which is still in beta, so you know I can't be too harsh on it. But that wasn't good enough either. Zooming in and out wasn't smooth. Some pages just wouldn't appear at all. I'd go onto a website, it'd say it was fully loaded, and then the screen would be blank. Sometimes it would just appear, you know, randomly after a few seconds after the blank screen, but wasn't good enough. So then I tried Dolphin HD or something, and finally I came across Opera, which is a much better experience so far, but it's still nothing compared to Safari on the iPhone 4S. So that's the major concern. The rest of my issues are niggles and, you know, things that I disagree with what people say. So the first thing I disagree with what other people say about Android and iPhones is when people say that Android has cheaper apps in the App Store or Play Store, whatever it's called now, and iPhone's expensive, all this stuff. And it's probably mainly because Angry Birds is available for free on here and it's not on the iPhone. So what I came to find was a lot of the apps I was looking to get were really expensive. There's like £15 apps here. It's commonplace to have like £4 or £5 apps. Whereas on the iPhone, pretty much everything's 69p. And also, when things are free on here, they're either rubbish or you get to a point while using that app where it actually wants to charge you, you know, for a plugin or something to make a part of it work. So in the long run, I don't think it works out cheaper at all. I'll give you an example. I wanted to listen to podcasts on here, so I needed like an RSS feed reader or whatever it is. So I tried Double Twist Player, I think it was called, and to actually subscribe to a podcast, you need to get the premium version, which is £9.99. So that's really expensive if I wanted to do that. So I tried another one, which is absolutely great. I forgot the name of it, but it's what I'm using for my podcast at the moment. But there's a button on there what allows you to speed up the podcast, and you can do that on the iPhone. And when you actually click on that, it says you need to get a plugin to make it work, which costs £2 or £3. So, I think it seems like things are cheaper, but in the long run, to get to the same place as where you'd get on iOS in the App Store, you'd probably have to spend the same amount of money or even more, which sounds crazy, but that's what I've seen so far. It's probably just the apps I'm trying to get, but it's not as black and white as people make out. So the next point is the whole Flash thing. That's a big point that people always bring up. Apple's restrictive, they don't let you use Flash. And personally, I didn't use many Flash websites, so it wasn't a problem for me. But what I did use is a site called College Humor. You guys on YouTube probably have seen some College Humor videos. And their websites release the videos sooner than they release them onto YouTube. And I really like their videos. So I used to watch them quite frequently on my iPhone, and when I tried to do it on here, it wouldn't work. Now, I think that's because they use QuickTime videos or something like that. But saying that Apple's restrictive because they don't allow Flash, and then coming on here to find that I can't watch the videos I want to watch, means that Android can be restrictive as well. Obviously in certain cases, depending on what site you use. But, they don't let you do anything. They don't let you do everything, sorry. Another issue is exactly about that, the fact that they don't let you do everything. People on Android always say iPhones are too restrictive, they want to make you do this, they want to make you do that, whereas on Android you can do whatever you want. But actually, for a lot of the apps, a few of the apps I wanted to look at, to change things, to customize things exactly the way you want them, like people make out you can. You actually can, but you have to get root access. So root access requires doing a bit of work, a bit of messing around with code. And actually, you can do the same thing on an Apple, but actually jailbreaking an iPhone is easier than getting root access on this phone at least. So that's another argument that I don't really see as valid. Now this is another niggle that I found that's not really relevant to most people, but I'll mention it anyway. The earphones that come with this, it only has one button, and with that button, while you're listening to music, you can pause it and replay it again. Whereas on the iPhone, the earphones had a button, but you could change the volume, and you could also, if you double tapped on it, it would change track forward, triple tapped, it would go back, and none of those features work, just the pause on this. So I actually tried using those earphones in here, and that wouldn't work, so it's a real shame because volume control would have been really useful. It doesn't means I don't have to reach into my pocket every time I want to change the volume of a track while I'm walking around. That's pretty much it for the negatives. I know it sounds like a lot, but the main issue is the slowness, especially for the browsing experience. And I don't know how often Android update things and HTC update things, but hopefully they'll be sorting that out soon because it's just not good enough at the moment. And especially for a phone that's quad-core, it's pretty disappointing. So now let's go on to the positives. Hopefully this might convince a few of you that this is a decent phone. Now this is my phone and I don't regret buying it, and I'll tell you why. So the main thing I love about this is the screen. Amazing screen. When you're watching HD videos, it just fits perfectly. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous screen. And the battery life isn't too bad actually. It gets better, when you first get the phone. I had a friend who bought one and they told me the battery gets better as you go along, and that's what I'm seeing so far at the moment. First time I charged it full charge, about 3 hours later after charging it, it died. So obviously that wouldn't be sustainable to have it like that the whole time. But now it's lasting a good 12 hours or so, and I use the phone quite a bit. So another benefit is the widgets. Now I know I said the Android wasn't customizable unless you get root access and stuff, but this stuff is available to anyone with HTC Sense. And the widgets are absolutely great. I've got Evernote, I've got my AdSense account on there. So Evernote specifically I absolutely love because I've got this widget. I can see the actual notes, then I can add one easily. And it's synced up to my laptop, so if I put a note in on my laptop, it shows up on my home screen, or one of my 7 home screens. So that's another great feature that I love about this. Another feature I like about the Androids is the fact that you get the home screens as well as the apps as well. So I know that kind of seems weird when you're moving from an iPhone, you just have basically the home screens. But on this one you can really customize everything, and you can have the rest of the stuff hidden away in the main apps menu. So if you don't use stuff frequently, you can make it look a lot tidier and a lot neater. And the integration actually with sharing and Facebook and stuff is great on this. On most applications, you click a share, it brings up a huge list. Evernote's actually on most of them, so if I go on a website, I click on share, Evernote's probably on there, email will be on there, Facebook and Twitter. And it's integrated really well, it's really easy. Syncing up your email contacts and your calendars and stuff like that, great on Android. Better experience on the Android so far with linking up to my social media accounts and my calendar account compared to the iPhone. That's pretty much it actually. I'm enjoying tinkering about. I know I've been complaining that I have to go on forums and stuff to find out how to make this stop crashing, but I'm kind of enjoying it because I'm a geek at heart. And that comes to my main and final verdict, that if you're a geek and you like tinkering about, you like customizing things heavily, even if you have to get root access, then this probably would be great for you. I mean, it is a great looking phone as well, I need to mention that. But if you want things to work, as they should, obviously iPhones have their moments sometimes, but they're a lot more reliable than this from my experience. Never had any problems with my iPhone 4S crashing, at least. My previous iPhones used to not be as good, but the iPhone 4S, just not one problem whatsoever throughout using it. With this, I've had problems with the screen flickering, Sense crashing constantly. The camera, which is meant to be amazing, it is amazing. So I opened it first time, it crashed. There's no point having a great camera if it's not going to work. So just stuff like that, you need to consider this sort of stuff when considering moving to HTC at least. And I'm not sure how the Galaxy Nexus would fare up after the usage I'm giving this phone. But with this phone at least, you need to be wary of these things. And if you're moving to Android at all, you need to do it not expecting Android to be an iPhone. It's not trying to be an iPhone, even though it may seem that way. It's not trying to be an iPhone, it's a different experience, and you should go into it with that mindset and you might enjoy it more. So I know some of the things I said might be controversial, and I want to know what you guys think. Just remember, this is my phone, I am being honest. All the niggles and stuff I pointed out, they're just what I'm seeing from usage so far. So let me know what you think in the comment section below, and keep checking back for Android app reviews, which I've only done one off on this channel so far. And if you used to watch this channel for the iOS reviews, then I do hope you stick around and watch the Android reviews anyway. There might be some iOS reviews in every now and again. I might collaborate with some other YouTube channels or something to get them on. But as always, this is a big day for Powerful or Pointless, moving from iOS to Android. And I hope you guys stick around. Please subscribe. See you on the next video.